Happy New Year! Welcome back to work, welcome back to life, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for those who've subscribed thus far. I am truly humbled for you coming through and coming to hear me jibber jabber all the time. So, like I said, we're back at work again, and we have a few work struggles that we have left in 2022 and hoping not to come across in 2023. So, I thought perhaps let's talk about labor matters today, right? So let us talk particularly on constructive dismissal. So the reason for me wanting to touch on this is because I know a lot of us don't have the healthiest work environments. We don't have the greatest relationships with our direct line managers, our bosses, etc. And yet some of us have the best relationships, right? So what happens in constructive dismissal? So what does that mean essentially? It means that the work environment is so hard. Basically, the employer makes you as the employee work in such a condition that is not desirable. Whatever it is that you need to do, it is made hard by your employer such that you have no other choice but to end up resigning. And therefore, this would fall under the umbrella or the ambit of constructive dismissal. What do you need to prove when you go to the CCMA or the bargaining council when we are dealing with constructive dismissal? So this is not something that happens over a week or 2 weeks, it's something that happens over a long period of time, that you would have had an issue with your direct line manager or your boss and say that, listen, I'm struggling with carrying out your instructions, and as a result I would like you to assist me. Or perhaps you are not making my job easy, because when I'm supposed to be executing the instructions that you've given me, you keep bringing a deterrence or a hindrance while I'm trying to work. So what do you do in such a situation? Hopefully the place that you work in has the HR lady or the HR man these days who will be able to assist you. So what happens that you should document the things that uh, fall within the ambit of grievance when you are employed. Okay. So what you do is that you follow your grievance policies that are within your workplace. Go to the HR and say, you know what, I have tried to have a conversation with my direct line manager, I've tried to have a conversation with my boss, and I'm not able to get the kinds of help or instructions or anything to help me do my job properly. Hopefully HR will be able to make a meeting or conduct a meeting between yourself and your manager, and then try and see if things can be worked out. And if this happens to happen continuously, you keep going back to HR until you feel like HR is not doing sufficient work to help you resolve the situation that you are in. All right, that's hopefully if your business has or your company has an HR department, or at least your boss is able to hear you out if you have a problem with your direct line manager who happens to not be the boss of the company. So what else did you need to do? Every complaint, don't always let it be a verbal one, because that becomes a little bit harder to prove when you go to the CCMA. If you have a verbal altercation or disagreement with your line manager or your director or your boss, then I would suggest that you put it down in writing. Send an email with your grievances, copy in HR or any other person who is probably at a higher position than the person that you report to directly. And then once things get out of hand and you feel like you can't take it anymore, when you resign, this is the portfolio of evidence that you would use to go to the CCMA or the bargaining council to prove your case of constructive dismissal. It is not easy, to be quite honest, to prove constructive dismissal. And once you get to the CCMA, it is not automatic that you're entitled to an attorney. We would have to make an application if you were to ever appoint any attorney for us to be present in the room when the arbitration happens. So yeah, this is what the ambit of constructive dismissal falls under. This is what it deals with. I thought perhaps because I've heard a lot of situations whereby people come and say that, no, last week my boss did this and I didn't like it and therefore I want to resign, it falls within the umbrella of constructive dismissal. Actually, it has been thrown out there in the media that the former ESCOM CEO Andre de Reiter has been constructively dismissed. So this is also something that brought this conversation out there for me, so that we can have a discussion to clarify what constructive dismissal actually is. Was he or was he not constructively dismissed by ESCOM? Because he reports directly to the board of directors. We would have to find out what the working environment was at the time. But remember, he entered his letter of resignation prior to the current board that is now sitting on ESCOM. So we would have to find out what the relationship was with the previous board. It cannot be the people who are beneath you are making your job difficult. Don't think so. Anyway, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and in your comments below, do tell me if there's anything else you'd like me to clarify in terms of labor law, civil litigation, family law, and criminal law, and I'll be happy to answer you. Thank you again.